Welcome to the Ducks Unlimited podcast, the only podcast about all things waterfowl. From hunting insights to science-based discussions about ducks, geese, and issues affecting waterfowl and wetlands conservation in North America. We bring the resource to you. The DU Podcast with your host, Chris Jennings.
Joining us on today's show, this is kind of an interesting show. We haven't done a whole lot of shows exactly like this one, but joining us today is Chris Lee, and he's the Integrated Marketing Manager for FNBO, which offers the Ducks Unlimited Visa card. Chris, welcome to the Ducks Unlimited podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me, Chris. Appreciate it.
Now, before we came on, we kind of chit-chatted about what we were actually going to discuss here. And, before we get started, I just wanted to kind of allow you to introduce yourself and also, FNBO and the credit card to our audience. So, let's start this off by just kind of, explaining, where FNBO is, what it is, and why they're involved with Ducks Unlimited.
FNBO is the largest privately owned bank in the United States. And so that's located in Omaha, Nebraska, and obviously got its start right here. But our footprint from a retail banking standpoint spans into, I believe, about 7 or 8 different states now. So it is a large organization, but they stick to our leadership and our ownership sticks to that private ownership piece of it, because it's a family run business. It has been since they started it. I think it's over 160 years ago, and so it's definitely been around. It's secure. And it's a great organization, and also our leadership are big supporters of Ducks Unlimited, and just personally and professionally. And so it was a perfect fit for both the bank and Ducks Unlimited to come together and have this product.
Yeah, and that's awesome because, as we kind of get through this, we'll explain it. But I mean, that's something, basically like every purchase when someone gets this credit card, a portion of that goes to wetlands conservation, Ducks Unlimited's mission, and that's awesome. It sounds like are the owners like hunters or just massive conservationists, or can you provide a little bit of background on that?
Yeah, so I know that they go out themselves, they duck hunt. And I believe they go out and fish, and they're definitely outdoorsmen and enjoy that. And so, they've been very supportive. Like I said earlier, just personally on the personal side of Ducks Unlimited, and are bought into the mission of wetland conservation. So that when we went to go make this product, several years ago. And the wetlands conservation portion of that was a big piece of that, and it really the founding block of how we're going to make the benefits of this card resonate, and how we're going to make it important to obviously the audience that we are both trying to speak to, and obviously Ducks Unlimited. That's your guys' mission is wetland conservation and building that outdoor recreational area.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. It sounds like a perfect fit there. Let's talk about you a little bit, and kind of before we got on here, we kind of were chit-chatting, and you mentioned that you kind of grew up waterfowl hunting as well. So this makes it easy for you to kind of hop on the DU podcast and talk. You probably understand a lot of what we're talking about and really engaged with it. What's your background in waterfowl hunting?
Definitely, this was one that when I was assigned to Ducks Unlimited, I was excited about. Personally and professionally myself, I've been involved in the outdoors in several different areas. And so, but I grew up in North Dakota. I was born in Lakota. If you're familiar with, a lot of people go walleye fishing in Devil's Lake. It's just about 30 minutes east of Devil's Lake. And so, grew up there. We had friends that had a family farm, ton of different sloughs and everything else. And in the fall, those were just jam packed with mallards and greenheads that there were so many of them. I don't think I ever called a duck growing up. We would go slough to slough to slough and just jump the sloughs. And it was amazing. It was really fun experience growing up, and my dad, my brother, and I, and then obviously some family friends that have been around our family literally since we were born. And so that was my introduction to it, and really my introduction to hunting overall. And now that I live in Nebraska, previous career stops have had me at Cabela's and also at an advertising agency where my clients were like Minn Kota, Humminbird, and so definitely hunting and fishing have been in my background for a very long time.
That's awesome. Now you get to be involved with Ducks Unlimited. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's fun. So
being in Omaha, how exciting is it to host the College World Series every year? Is that a big time of year for you guys there?
Oh my gosh, it's incredible. I'll be honest. When I grew up in North Dakota, college baseball, we had a team, but it was not nearly to the level of what this is. And so, one of my first times down in Nebraska, I saw, I believe it was Florida State and I want to say Auburn. And it just blew me away, the amount of support in Omaha for these two teams that are thousands of miles away, but just the way that Omaha surrounds the event itself. Every single game is jam packed, and they welcome in these fan bases with open arms. So like last year, Mississippi State came in, and I think they took over the whole city. They took over the whole city. You saw them in bars, restaurants. All of the VRBOs were packed up. Hotels were packed up, and so it's a ton of fun. But yeah, we are extremely lucky to have that in our backyard. And I try to go to at least 2 or 3 games with my son every year.
That's cool. I bet the bank probably has some pretty solid tickets, though. Probably get you some access to some decent seats there, right?
They would have some pretty good access, that's for sure. We've experienced some really cool things being associated with that, so it's definitely fortunate.
That's cool. Yeah, my co-host, who's normally on the show with me, Dr. Mike Brazier, is a big Mississippi State fan, so he'll appreciate that you gave them a little bit of a shout out there. So, as we roll through here, let's kind of get into the nitty gritty of this and kind of why we're here. Can you talk a little bit about the Visa card, the Ducks Unlimited Visa card?
So it's a Visa product that it's really straightforward and simple. It's from a financial product standpoint, you get unlimited 1.5% cash back on all your purchases, anywhere that Visa is accepted. But and this is all done with a no annual fee, all those good things. But like we mentioned earlier, the biggest part of this, I think the most interesting part of it is that every single time you swipe your card, a certain percentage of that transaction goes back to wetland conservation. And so I think since the program started, I want to say 2015, if I'm remembering correctly, it's been over $1.75 million have gone back into wetland conservation because of this card and because of people using this card. And so, and there's a ton of different, it goes back into the overall, I guess, bucket for Ducks Unlimited to use to then go out and work on these projects. Probably the most recent one and the most local one to us here in Omaha is a smaller community, Stanton, Nebraska, and the Wood Duck Wildlife Management Area. And so they were able to use that money, go in and restore this area that is it's a little bit of an oxbow out of the Elkhorn River. And so obviously the ducks come in the spring and that's where their habitat is for the summertime. And it creates a great atmosphere for that community to go in and obviously wildlife as well, all sorts of wildlife. And so, it's those things that when you can see the fruits of the labor a little bit and see, and just see the money that comes in is going to things of that nature. It really makes it worth it and makes it a very unique association with a financial product. I'm not sure there's another financial product out there that would have a benefit like this.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's cool. You actually have a tangible, I mean, you could drive out to this project and say, this is what, one of many, I'm assuming.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
That, you can say, like, this is what these card holders are doing. Basically, we've kind of talked about it around here is, it's from whether it's an event fundraising or a credit card or whatever, and it can go from there to actually moving dirt and benefiting wildlife and even recreation for outdoorsmen or whatever. So that's really cool, like tangible story to say, yeah, here's the project that the DU Visa card basically brought because of this, just because of this financial product. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, no, we're lucky, and it's close to us here in Omaha. It's probably an hour and a half drive, and there's a number of them around. But other things like more widespread. Another project that was brought up was just helping farmers and ranchers in South Dakota improving their grazing lands and enhancing that soil health and preservation of wetlands that they have on their land. And so just working with them and doing that's all the there's many other projects like you said, but those are two that are a little bit closer to our home but it spans the United States and there's examples of that all over. That's
awesome. Now, how can people get the credit card if they want to hop off the DU podcast right now and go and sign up for the credit card?
Yeah, so ducks.org/visa. And that will bring you to our landing page that we've set up, and it'll tell you all about the benefits that I've mentioned earlier. If you want to read the fine print's there too, and then the application link is right there on the website. So yeah, ducks.org/visa is the best way to go and take a look at that.
Awesome. And listeners can also, you'll also hear the message from FNBO in the podcast as an ad. And by all means, not only from our standpoint at the podcast, we appreciate your support, but just overall for wetlands conservation, like you said, you're pointing to actual tangible products that are benefiting, everything from farmers to ranchers to, just wetlands in general. So I think it's fantastic and encourage everyone to go and check it out at ducks.org/visa. Chris, this has been fantastic. I appreciate you coming on and, really kind of giving kind of an insight into what the credit card is, what the Visa card is, what it means to you guys at FNBO, and also what it means to you personally. I think you had a pretty good story there where it kind of really translates to everything that DU does as far as outdoors and conservation. So, again, I appreciate you coming on, and thanks for providing this information.
No, thanks for the opportunity, Chris. I really appreciate it, and as a listener myself, it's cool to be on, so I appreciate the opportunity.
I'd like to thank my guest, Chris Lee, the Integrated Marketing Manager for First National Bank of Omaha, for joining us today and talking about the DU Visa card. I'd like to thank our producer, Chris Isaac, for doing a great job of putting the show together and getting it out to you. And I'd like to thank you, the listener, for joining us on the DU podcast and supporting wetlands conservation.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the DU podcast. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show. And visit www.ducks.org/DU podcast for resources based on today's topics, as well as access to more episodes. Opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of Ducks Unlimited. Until next time, stay tuned to the Ducks.